tush push lives on for now. In the owners' meeting yesterday, they decided to table the idea along with other ideas as well. It's a revisit in May because they did not have the 24 votes to proceed with the ban. So we have over a month from now to decide when it's going to if it's going to proceed or not. And I do worry that once it revives or it gets to May, whatever that day it is, to revisit it, that they will have enough to ban it. And it's dumb. It is. When I put a poll out there on the Pat McAfee show on their comment section, it did have 50 votes, so not this extravagant huge sample size, but for 50 votes you saw 74% said should the tush push be banned. They said no. And to me, this is I think the vast majority of people what they think. The vast majority of people is this is dumb. This whole conversation of banning a play because you can't stop it is idiotic. It's laughable. We have people grasping for straws like Sean McDermott who sit there and say that he's worried about the player's safety or the injury risk and has nothing to back it up, and has gone as far as to say even though there is no data to prove that, it's still an injury risk. It's one of the most idiotic things I've ever heard. They have nothing to back up. There's no valid argument you could make to ban the tush push. Nothing. It's just you are jealous. You're sick of seeing it. That's what it comes down to. I'm sick of seeing it. I got it. It's just it gets old at times, but it doesn't matter. If you don't like it, stop it. We are doing the job of the defensive coordinators and the players' jobs. They get paid millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars for some of them, to figure this out, to do their job and stop it. And eventually, it will get stopped, and at the very least, be pushed to slow down to a certain point where it's not surefire. It's not automatic. Whether it's you have to build your personnel differently when it gets to that point in a situation of a game, or the defensive line has to tackle the offensive line in a different aspect, in a different way, whatever it may be. This is a game of adjustments that people always talk about, or a game of counters, however you want to rephrase it. At some point, teams will figure this out. We saw this, early on with the AFC Championship game. Multiple times the Buffalo Bills were stopped running the tush push. Can you argue they're not as good as running it as the Philadelphia Eagles? Yes. Even though they are I think there's the second most team that runs it alongside with Philadelphia. But that should be it's also a detriment to the argument of banning it, is that not everyone can do it. It's not this automatic thing that every team does. The Philadelphia Eagles run it the best. Other teams that do it great, yeah, like I said, the Bills, and maybe if you want to throw in different other teams, but at least for the top two that run it the most, it's those two. But they showed you in the AFC Championship game that, yes, the Chiefs were able to attack it in a way that it stopped it multiple times. They weren't able to do it in the Super Bowl, but again, that's going to the point of punishing a team for doing their job right. Going back to the injury aspect of it, for Sean McDermott, it's hypocritical because he wants to cry so much about injury factor, injury risk, but yet he allows his own quarterback and his own team to run it. You should stand what you're saying. You should stand on what you're telling people. If you don't like it, you lead by example. Don't have your team run it. Say, you know what? We're not going to do it because I believe it's a risk to our quarterback, for Josh Allen, if the offensive line. Not to say your argument makes it any better, but like, okay, at least he practices what he preaches in that aspect. But he doesn't. He's hypocritical. He even admitted in the Rams game when they botched the tush push late in the game that wasted time. They asked him, why did you run it at that point? He goes, it is our best play that we have. So he admitted it is their best play. Like Philadelphia, it's a high percentage chance of succeeding, but there was no talks at that point about injury risk. There was nothing going in his head saying this is too dangerous. No, he wanted to win the game, which is what Philadelphia is doing. They run that play because it's a high percent chance of succeeding and putting him in a better position to win the game. Whether it's getting a critical third down, a critical fourth down, a critical touchdown, that's what it comes down to with that. And it just, again, I'm so sick of hearing these half-baked arguments to get rid of it, because there's nothing at all, nothing whatsoever to stop it. And trust me, the NFL will find any little bit of evidence to run to the highest mountain, shout from the top, waving a piece of paper with one single data showing one person got hurt. And you know what? That is enough for us to ban it. If there was a good amount of evidence that you can show me that quite a few players have gotten hurt, or even worse with that, the severity of the injury, I could understand that aspect of it. But the other part of it too is, You don't have to run it. No one's forcing you to run this play. You can decide how many times you want to run it. And there's quite a few teams that just don't do it flat out. Whether they just don't have the type of quarterback to do it or they just don't want to. Like Carolina. Carolina can't really do that because Bryce Young is the smallest quarterback in the NFL. He's 5'10", barely over 200 pounds. So not every team is in position to do it, nor do they do it if they want to. So no one's forcing them to run this play at all. If it does get banned, or say when it gets banned, at this point, the way it looks, where does it stop in terms of unfair plays? Because we're getting to a point now where we're punishing a team for being creative or having a system that works. And Vrabel kind of brought this up in an example. Do we ban Lamar Jackson from running? Because that's difficult to stop. Do we ban all quarterbacks from running? Because, hey, that's not part of the script. That's not what we planned for in this play. We're planning to cover the receivers, the running backs, the tight ends, and we're expecting the quarterback to make a throw or at least throw the ball away. That's unfair that we have to account for a guy running and using his legs to get the first down or even more. Do we ban it from there? What do we ban Xavier Worthy? Because statistically in the combine, at least for his numbers, he's the fastest player in the NFL. Do we ban him from running deep routes and running a straight line downfield because he's just too fast? That's not fair. Now everyone's not that fast. Why is it fair that he can outrun them? No one says about 2007 with Randy Moss when he was the same thing too, just running deep, fades, streaks, whatever you want to call it, and just outrunning everybody, getting touchdowns. Did anyone want to ban Randy Moss for doing that because it's unfair? It's just, again, I'm so sick of this over and over again. We are just, it's teams being lazy for not doing their job. Find a way to stop it. Simple as that. You don't like it, stop it. That's what it comes down to. And I love that the vast majority of people online, again, that's a very small sample size, but even like a lot of people I see on different pages, comments, they all say the same thing. It's just, this is dumb that we are talking about this and it should get banned. It's shown, and people, that's why I love Vrabel, DeMeco Ryans, and a few others too, if I haven't seen their comments, that preach, you have to take a step back and really just do basic logic, critical thinking, just really think about it. Might be difficult for some of these guys, but think about it. I can't punish a team for a play that they run well as. Simple, that should be the end of the discussion. But again, we're throwing half-baked, terrible arguments that we have no evidence to back up for at all whatsoever. I mean, I think I've heard some that say the play looks ugly or just boring to watch. Okay, who cares? You know what? It's boring that seeing Baltimore at times run the football so many times a game, or Lamar Jackson running so many times a game, because it just sucks trying to, watching our teams defend them. I'm not going to sit here and say you got to ban them. If that's working, go for it. If you're a Ravens fan, hell yeah, you're going to keep doing that. If Josh Allen is going to keep throwing deep shots at Keon Coleman because he's open, absolutely you're going to do that. If the Philadelphia Eagles are running it 30 times a game, yes, it may suck that you have to go against that, but if that's working, use it. Where does it end? When does it stop if this does or when this gets banned in terms of what's unfair plays, what should be off the table? And again, I'm so sick of the NFL the last couple of years for this, not just for this, but other countless things they've done in years past too, of putting things in place that no one asked for. The other thing I don't want to get into off topic really is the kickoff with moving the touchback up even further up the field from 30 to 35. It's stupid. It is. It's like not just that, the penalties, the fines, everything. There's so many things the NFL puts in place lately that no one asked for, that doesn't help the league at all in terms of just watching it, the product and so forth. There are small things, like just one very small thing was just the allowing teams to wear alternate uniforms 4 times a year now. That's awesome because a lot of teams have amazing alternate jerseys. So that's something like, hey, people want that. People want to see the alternate jersey, so you're allowing teams to wear it more. That's awesome. That's great. That's one very small step. It's not anything groundbreaking, but it's just one thing to appealing to the fans and to players that like it, that hey, you get to see these uniforms more. It's things like that people are asking for, not stuff like this whatsoever. Even when you have players that are asking for changes, you're not listening to them with the whole play on grass fields, and then really just kind of throwing it out of the way. You care about player safety, like Sean McDermott, people always preach about player safety. Listen to your players. Is anyone complaining from the player's perspective, the vast majority of the tush push? No. It's just bitter owners and coaches that want to get rid of it for whatever reason. It's dumb. So I apologize. I don't want to go too much on a rant with it and kind of talk myself, in circles over and over again. That's just how I feel about it. Unfortunately, like I said, I do feel that this will get banned in May. I think at that point they will have the votes to proceed with the ban. I'd be absolutely shocked if it gets to May and this does not pass again. We'll see at that point. It'll at the very least it'll be in place for one more, or you'll be able to do it for one more season, and then they'll probably get rid of it the next off season. So we'll see what happens in May if this does pass in a little over a month, and what they decide to do with it. And I'm sure I'll make a video about it once again, the discussion, or put a post on Twitter about my thoughts on the potential ban.